Welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am Emedion James, coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government appoint Professor Haruna as first VC of Federal University Kontagora. Nnamdi Kanu dumps plans to enter defense, insists no case against him. Plus, Trump rules out contesting for vice president to stay in power after 2028. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. We begin the news at noon from the national scene where the federal government has appointed Professor Farouk Haruna as the first substantive Vice-Chancellor of the Federal University of Education, Kontagora in Niger State. The announcement was made by the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council, Professor Francis Faduyele, after the Council's 5th meeting held in Kontagora. Faduyele told journalists that Professor Haruna emerged successful after a rigorous selection process involving 6 shortlisted candidates. He said the new Vice-Chancellor brings a wealth of experience, having served as acting Vice-Chancellor, Provost and Chairman of the Committee of Provost. According to him, the new Vice-Chancellor is expected to assume office on Monday, November 4, 2025. Away from that, 6 new states have been proposed by the Joint Committee of the Senate and House of Representatives on Constitution Review. The proposal was one of the key resolutions of 2-day retreat co-chaired by Deputy Senate President Barrow Jibrin and House of Representatives Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu in Lagos. The Joint Committee considered 69 bills, 55 state creation requests, 2 boundary adjustment and 278 local government creation requests during the retreat. During the consideration of the 55 requests for state creation, the Joint Committee unanimously resolved that 6 additional states should be created. If approved, the number of states will increase from 36 to 42. Estates will therefore be created in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of Northwest, Northeast, North Central, Southwest, South-South, and Southeast. In another development, the National Examination Council (NECO) has established a new examination center in London, United Kingdom, marking a major step in its global expansion drive and commitment to educational inclusivity for Nigerians in the diaspora. Unveiling the centre during the Education Matter Conference UK 2025 in London, the Registrar and Chief Executive of NECO, Professor Dantani Ibrahim Wushishi, described the new Senior School Certificate Examination SSCE Centre set up in partnership with Benfield Education Limited as a strategic move to extend access to credible Nigerian examinations beyond the country's borders. Professor Wushishi, in a statement issued by the Acting Director, Information and Public Relations, NECO, Aziz Sani, said the initiative aims to provide opportunities for Nigerian students and adult learners in the UK who, for various reasons, have been unable to complete secondary education or obtain equivalent qualifications. In a separate development, the detained self-acclaimed leader of the proscribed separatist group, the Indigenous People of Biafra (IPOB), Nnamdi Kanu, has abandoned his earlier plan to call witnesses in his defense in his ongoing trial for alleged terrorism offenses. Recall that the court on October 24th adjourned till October 27th for Kanu to open his defense. Kanu had written the court indicating his intentions to call witnesses and apply for witnesses' summon. When the case was called on today, Kanu said he has gone through the case file and realized that there is no valid charge against him. He argued that since he is convinced that there is no valid charge against him, and since he was subjected to unlawful trial, there will be no need for him to conduct any defense. Justice James Omotosho asked him to file a written address to that effect and served the prosecution. We move now to Africa, where Alassane Ouattara looked likely to win a fourth term as Ivory Coast president on Sunday, with early results suggesting a landslide victory in a poll where two of the main hopefuls were barred from standing. Ouattara, age 83, had led the world's top cocoa producer since 2011, when the country began reasserting itself as a West African economic powerhouse. Official results from some of Ouattara's northern strongholds showed him winning upwards of 90% of the vote, with a turnout close to 100%. The veteran was also ahead in traditionally pro-opposition areas in the south and parts of the economic hub Abidjan, where polling stations had been almost empty on Saturday. The Electoral Commission is set to publish results from all regions by the end of the day, with the compiled tally expected late on Sunday or early Monday. Still in Africa, hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Douala, Cameroon's economic capital, on Sunday, responding to a nationwide call from opposition figure Issa Shiroma Bakari. Demonstrators, mostly young people, marched through major thoroughfares, demanding the authorities acknowledge Shiroma's victory in a recent election and also disclose the true results of the vote, expected to be officially announced today. According to local report, the demonstrations quickly spread across several neighborhoods of Douala, including the densely populated New Bell area. Tensions escalated when police and anti-riot gendarmes allegedly used live ammunition to disperse the crowds. Witnesses say 2 people were shot, while several others were rushed to nearby hospitals, with some in critical condition. As news of the clashes circulated, protests extended beyond Douala, with cities such as Garo, Maro, Mingagang, Kelly, and Brato joining what many are calling a national movement for electoral truth. On the foreign scene, Donald Trump said today that he would not run for vice president in 2028 American election, a move some supporters suggest will allow him to skirt term limit and stay in the White House. The U.S. Constitution limits president to 2 terms, and Trump began his second in January. However, some of his advocates have suggested the Republican could skirt the rule by becoming vice president and then stepping back into a vacant top job. Trump, who served his initial term from 2017 to 2021, often mentioned that his supporters have called for him to govern beyond his current tenure, despite the constitutional restrictions. Still on the foreign scene, the Israeli military today accused UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon of shooting down one of its drones a day earlier during an intelligence gathering mission. Following the shooting of the drone, the military dropped a grenade towards the area where UAV fell, adding that troops did not fire at the peacekeepers. On Sunday, Anfil said an Israeli drone flew over its patrol in an aggressive manner. It also added that the incident showed disregard for safety and security of the peacekeepers implementing Security Council mandated talks in southern Lebanon. Still to come in the news. Mbappe, Bellingham fired Madrid to El Clasico victory. Stay tuned for details of this in just a moment. On a business news, Dangote Refinery has announced that it is increasing its production from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day. When completed, the expansion will make the facility the largest refinery in the world, surpassing the Jamnagar refinery in India. Speaking at a press conference in Lagos on Sunday, the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, said the move reflects confidence in Nigeria's future and aligns with President Bola Tinubu's vision of making the country a global supplier of refined petroleum products. Dangote commended the federal government for its support and for implementing policies that have spurred industrial growth, including Nigeria's First Policy, Naira for Crude Policy, and One-Stop Shop initiative. He said these policies have revolutionized the downstream sector and encouraged private investment in local refining. Still in business, the Organized Private Sector of Nigeria, OPSN, has rejected the proposed amendment to the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund (NSITF) Act, describing the move by the Senate as a dangerous attempt to hijack and politicize the management of workers' social protection funds. The OPSN comprises the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, the Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, and the Nigerian Association of Small-Scale Industrialists, NASA ATSBI. It warned that the amendment threatened transparency, accountability, and the very foundation of funds governance structure. In a letter to the Senate President signed by the Directors General of the 5-member organizations, the OPSN urged the Senate to immediately halt the legislative process, which has already passed second reading, insisting that the proposed changes would undermine the NSITF's tripartite structure and violate international labor standards. In health, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has announced plans to commence an indefinite nationwide strike starting November 1, 2025. NARD's President Mohammed Suleiman disclosed this in a statement on Sunday, saying the strike directive was issued after the expiration of a 30-day ultimatum earlier given to the federal government over unresolved demands. This latest action comes after a 5-hour meeting of the association's National Executive Council on Saturday. According to Suleiman, the decision followed the expiration of a 30-day ultimatum earlier issued to the federal government to address its demands. Still in health, the House of Representatives has invited critical stakeholders, including the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Standard Organization of Nigeria, Federal Ministries of Health and Federal Airport Authorities of Nigeria, to submit memoranda ahead of its probe into the prevalence in the use, trafficking and regulation of illicit drugs across the country. Also invited for submission of inputs are Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Group of MAN, PMG-MAN, major pharmaceutical companies, Nigerian Breweries PLC, Guinness Nigeria PLC, International Distillers Limited, and tobacco industry representatives. Others include law enforcement agencies including the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Customs Service, Nigeria Immigration Service, Nigerian Correctional Service, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Medical Association, the Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria, National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, Nigerian Bar Association, Civil Society Network on Substantive Abuse, and the National Youth Council of Nigeria are expected to make input. We move now to sports where Jude Bellingham's goal helped Real Madrid beat Barcelona 2-1 to win a tense Clásico and move 5 points clear of their bitter rivals at the top of La Liga on Sunday. Champions Barcelona won all 4 times the team were pitted against each other last season, but in his first Clásico as Real Madrid coach, Xabi Alonso snapped that run. Kylian Mbappe, who later missed a penalty, fired Madrid in front, and although Fermín López leveled for the visitors at the Santiago Bernabéu, Bellingham netted a second for the host before half-time, which proved decisive. Backup playmaker Patrick was sent off in the final stages for a second yellow card as tensions spilled over the Spanish capital. Madrid's victory means they have won 9 of their opening 10 league games, and Alonso's side proved against Barca they can triumph on big occasions, following their debut humbling by Atletico Madrid in September. Still in sport, Jannik Sinner clinched his 4th title of the season on Sunday as the Italian rallied from a set down to beat Alexander Zverev in the final of the Vienna Open. Sinner dropped his first set of tournaments before staging a comeback to see off Zverev 3-6, 6-3, 7-5 to land in the 22nd title of his career. It is his second triumph in Vienna, where he also lifted the trophy in 2023 and extended his winning run on indoor hard court to 21 matches, going in next week's final Masters 1000 of the year in Paris. But the top seed had to do it the hard way after falling behind as well number 3, Zverev, who had won 4 of 7 previous meetings, secured the only break of the first set to take the upper hand. On entertainment news, Europe-based Nigerian Afrobeat sensation Charles Onyebo made history on October 24, 2025 as he sold out the iconic Hard Rock Cafe in Firenze, Italy. Charles, who is the son of Afro-folk legend William Onyebo, delivered a high-energy performance that seamlessly blended Afrobeat, soul, funk, and modern rhythm, a sound that is distinctively his own. Performing hit tracks such as Ifenkili, As He Dey Play, It Is Show, and his recent club anthem Cho Cho Cho. Charles commanded the stage with a magnetic presence that had the audience dancing from start to finish. The night also featured a stellar lineup of guest performances including DJ Obas, DJ Top G, UK Best Afrobeat Personality Adesokbe Olajide, Henry Afrobeat Rome, Young Game, and Faru, among others. And that's all we have for you at this time. To ensure